You're listening to The Dan Nicholl Show.
My guest on The Dan Nicholl Show this week is not just a really good friend of mine, he's one of my very, very favourite musicians, and he's a person who, in all past engagements, has cut a slightly chubby, slightly dishevelled figure, somebody you'd probably cross the street in poor light just to avoid. Instead, the person who's waltzed into the Cape Grace this morning has lost about 15 kilograms, has what looks suspiciously like a six-pack underneath his designer t-shirt, has partially shaved, and appears generally to be in the best of spirits. I think the technical word, Ard Matthews, is love-struck.
There we go. That's exactly, you've nailed it. That's exactly what it is.
Because sitting in the room with us, and you can't see her or hear her at the moment, but is this shimmering vision of beauty who, for reasons best known to herself, has decided that one of South Africa's preeminent rock stars is the ideal object of her affection. I can say in absolute certainty, we've known each other for long enough,
Yeah,
I've never seen you happier.
that is very true. 100%.
It is slightly sickening though, watching the kind of the soft light strolls on the beach you post to Instagram, and the notes you send me on WhatsApp where you've just written her another poem. You're back to being a teenage art in love.
Isn't it wonderful as I approach this tender age of 50 to actually find out the meaning of the songs that I've been writing my whole life that were all fictitious in my mind, and was the actual reason for doing all of it.
It's really special, and I could not be happier for you, because you've given me as a friend lots of love and joy over the years, but you've given so many others as well, and it's really good to see that come back to you in industrial volumes.
Yeah, thank you. No, it is. It's good. I'm feeling fantastic and just full of joy and creative and working and just really living life to the fullest. And they expect lots more cheesy videos from Tanya and myself. We actually we've invested in some Vaseline for the lens for the next one. Just to no, she's shaking her head. Okay, no lens.
Like she is gorgeous and talented and funny and brilliant, so it's clearly not going to last. But while it does, you've been able to do some really cool stuff, and it's added a new dimension to this extraordinary musical career of yours. And we'll come back to where you are now a little later.
Yeah.
But if we go back to the very beginning, and we've shared this story many times, but the very first time that I encountered you, I'd mistakenly said you were opening for U2. You corrected me. They closed for you because you had another gig to get to.
Yes.
But I remember four rather large gentlemen who I think had come in from the University of Stellenbosch to watch the show at the then Greenpoint Stadium. And myself and my mate Mark, who'd photocopied a couple of tickets and managed to get in to watch the show, were yelling at whoever these ginger people were to get off stage because we wanted to see Bono, and we got told in no uncertain terms that no, this is Just Jinger, they are the best band in South Africa, be quiet and listen. So we did as we were told, and that's when I first discovered your music, and it really struck a chord.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I'm sure people must have been in shock. It's the same as when we did Def Leppard. It was still to this day the loudest audible noise I've ever heard in my life, because we'd come from playing a couple of clubs and got the gig, and it was packed, 60, 70,000 people in Ellis Park. And we'd never seen ever in our lives. And so we were trembling backstage. I was, for some reason, dressed in my full Tottenham Hotspurs outfit with long dreadlocks and full kit.
As you do.
And as one does when you don't have a clue with what you're doing. And the lights dropped, and obviously the audience was expecting Def Leppard to come out. It was so loud. I remember us looking at each other. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I knew that it wasn't because of us. I knew that they were expecting Def Leppard. We kind of walked up the stage like, hey, come on, you Spurs. And had a very fortunate reception, quite similar to the one at U2. And, we just had our first hit at radio, but I remember it was still to this day the scariest natural loud noise I'd ever heard in my life.
As on comes a white ruster dressed as if he's been airlifted in from White Hart Lane. But when you look back on those sorts of moments, and I think for those of us who've been lucky enough to do really cool stuff in the entertainment world over the years, are they still pinch me moments? Are they still, gee, did I actually do that? Was I there opening for Def Leppard, opening for U2? Have you, does it make sense in your head?
It does, but a lot of it is very surreal for me. So I'll be talking like Jude, my drummer who works with me on the solo record. You know him. Like every now I'll be in a car and something will just regurgitate, and I'll tell him a story. And he's been working with me for 13 years now. And then I'll just be like, oh, there was that time, so and so, whatever. And he'll go, you can't have stories like that, bottomless stories. And I go, well, I tend to forget a lot, but then when they come up, I also go, geez, like, yeah, you actually did that. You were on stage with Stevie Wonder at Nelson Mandela's birthday and all these icons that you've been with. But yeah, it's still pinch me moments. Gratitude is everything. I think more pinch me moment now is having the opportunity that I have now to feel this kind of union with Tanya in my life, and to still be able to do what I do, and to still feel semi-relevant and also respected and appreciated. That's the pinch me moments day to day.
It took you 4 minutes to get back to Tanya and tell me how much you love her.
That was longer than I expected. Sorry, Tanya.
The world knows you musically as the face and the voice, most importantly, of Just Jinger.
Only the voice, not.
Only the voice. It's a band that I think was so important to that stage of South African music, because it created an identity of South African music I'm not sure was always there beforehand. You can't engineer band. I mean, you can make a One Direction, but not your sort of band. Yeah, he would indeed. But there was something just about Just Jinger and how it came together. What was the secret to that chemistry? Why did Just Jinger work?
Well, it was already an established band called Tri-Funk Era, and they were playing at the Waterfront. And I just remember going to watch them on my breaks. I was playing with a drummer called Bruce Fulford, and we were called Cat Chambers. His favorite drummer was Dennis Chambers. My favorite singer was Cat Stevens. So obviously Cat Chambers, being highly creative, came up with that name. And we used to play at the Waterfront when it still had water with the dead bodies in it.
A beautiful time.
Lovely time. Yeah. So serene, the serenity. And I just remember seeing this power trio that had Tux, the colored bassist, and Vernie Skoltz guitar, and then Brent Harris playing drums with this 8-pack ponytail and singing like no one I'd ever heard sing at that stage. And I haven't been intimidated very often in my life. Not that I seek it or focus on it, but I just remember standing watching this three-piece going, that is the craziest live thing I've ever seen in my life. And then Brent used to come around in his gaps and come and watch our little setup. I was playing bass pedals with my feet and the harmonica, and I was in my proper homeless fashion.
Which lasted until about
20 minutes ago. And he came in and watched me. I had just written Shallow Waters then and 1 or 2 original songs, and they were doing only covers. And Brent walked in, and I remember him like peering and looking. He was really an icon at this stage. He still is. He's still massively respected. But he just called me up, and I was telling Tanya, I've got to quickly reference Tanya. How long's it been? A few minutes too long.
Tanya, she's the girlfriend or partner. So I can't remember if you've mentioned her yet at all in our conversation.
And it was one of those first cell phones. We still live in an era when we actually lived a few days without cell phones. Can you believe it? Grew up without them. And I remember that wasn't the 3310. It was whichever the one with the aerial was that lost it.
There was a Motorola that unfolded like a field general's bows in the army. You used to have to wind it up.
But they have it in Normandy when those.
Exactly.
And I just remember Brent calling me up, going, you're joining the band. We need to play. We want to do original music. I was like, we're running out of airtime. Click. I was like, oh, okay. So that's how it happened. And obviously, being a trio called Tri-Funk Era, me being the 4th homeless person in the band, we had to change the name. So we very cleverly decided to drop the Tri and just became Funk Era before Just Jinger. But to answer your question properly, how it works, no one knows. These things are so randomized. It's just, you can try and piece bands together as best as you can to the best of your ability, but there are so many factors that can get in the way. One is that they can be the best musicians, but absolute, similar to you kind of people,
Thank you.
Yeah, no, legends. That's where I was going.
Of course we were.
So there are so many configurations that can work against you. So to have a band that still, we are in our 29th year, we are still friends. We've been through everything. We've been through highs and lows, successes and complete, just all the highs and lows that the industry can throw at you, and it does. And for us to still laugh at the same childish jokes that we told when we first met is testament. And then add to that, when we get on stage, for some reason, when the three of us combined, there is just a might and a sound, and there's years and years, that comes together, and it just works. But it's as volatile as anything, But so for bands to be together approaching 30 years is nothing short of a miracle, I can tell you that.
That first 6-track album was 6 remarkable songs. It's obviously been dramatically downhill since then. But
That was the beginning.
when you created that, when you create a song like Shallow Waters, it's now become an anthem for so many South Africans, and it means so much to so many people for different reasons. It's been a song that has got people through all sorts of times. At what point, as a musician, do you realize you've got something special? Is it only once you've seen it hit #1? And I mean, you wouldn't have had downloads then, but you'd maybe sold lots of cassettes at that stage. When do you realize, or is it earlier than that? In the studio, do you go, hey guys, we've got something special here?
No, I think it started because we had to transition as a cover band anyway. We didn't have enough originals, so we were playing a lot of covers and then throwing in the original. So our first little sign of that we might be doing something cool is that we were playing at shows and they were going, no, don't play that original one again, play that again. And we were like, whoa, that's never happened in our short careers already, or to any other cover band that you see that they tell you not to play the cover and to play original. So that was like a little indication. And then I remember when we were recording at Bop Studios, Brent and I, in between takes or whatever, it was the day when they booked it out for the 2 weeks, and you chill at the pool. They even served food in those days. It was a proper studio experience. It was very cool. And I remember us just sitting going, yeah, well, this, it's sounding cool. We've got a bunch of songs. And I was going, like, imagine if this sells like 1,000. Imagine if 1,000 people buy this, And he was going, no ways, dude. I was like, I know, definitely. But imagine if 2,000 people, and cut to, Shallow Waters being the first #1 of that record. And it ended up selling a couple 100,000 records, being the biggest debut rock album of its time. So it's at that point that you go, okay, there is something pretty special happening. But while you're writing the song in your room and playing it live, you really have no indication other than when.
Are you almost too close to the project to be able to give it that objective eye?
No, it's not. It's just because we've got nothing to feed off from previous, so we don't know. It's an absolute unknown. Now, because we've had the access, now you can start analyzing and going, well, this song sounds poppy and it should work, because you start getting all analytical about it, which can also kill creativity in a way. So in my solo work, what I've done is I've just expanded all of that and not applying, or playing by the rules, or staying in confines of what I think pop sensibility should be. Although I always do end up writing like that, because I know that radio does still exist and short songs, for me, are powerful. But initially when we were doing it, we really had no idea. It was just like, it was a hit and hope. And fortunately, we had a couple of hits from that.
It worked brilliantly. I remember spending some of the little money I had
On the cassette.
it was actually, I bought the CD.
You're born
Gaming age. I then had to borrow somebody else's CD player to be able to listen to it.
Never had a CD player.
I got the money. It was some of my tips from working as a barman, a very unsuccessful barman. It was about that. And it became a staple. I listened to it time and time again, and so many others did. And that's what took you to being able to open with U2, open with Def Leppard. For those of us from the outside, we think, well, those must have been the biggest on-stage moments. But is there another concert? Is there another performance that maybe wasn't quite as big, but you look back on it and go, wow, that was one that really did something special?
The show that stands out for me was it was an American Express hosted event on Sunset Boulevard at the House of Blues. And we were just on the bill. We were just told that we're on the bill, and so we were like, okay, cool, let's go and play. And as we were finishing our set, it's only 500 people in the room. But as we were finishing, the Strokes, who were really rocking at the time, and they're still amazing. They came in looking so dapper, as they do. They're the coolest New York band. They came and set up next to us, and we were like, whoa, the Strokes. And then, because there's no Instagram at the time, we didn't know who was on the lineup. But Stevie Wonder was on that bill as well after the Strokes. And because we had played, we had VIP tickets to be upstairs at the House of Blues. And it was the most surreal moment, because Brent and I are Stevie Wonder fanatics. Brent got me into Stevie Wonder, and Denham, our bass guitarist. I only knew him for I Just Called to Say I Love You, which not my favorite of his. And then I started getting into the back catalogue of his, and he'd become an idol of mine. So I was like, oh my word, I'm going to get to see Stevie Wonder, because we've been on stage with him at Madiba's birthdays once or twice, but never got to at all get close, to even meeting him. Now we're getting to watch him in a room with 500 people. And I remember Brent, who's a big guy, he's scary looking, and fit man, talk about musos who wear their heart in their sleeves. And he started with the opening song, lately I have Found it when it done or whatever. Diddle you apart.
So did you just forget the lyrics to a song? Has that happened before?
Never.
Just checking.
Never. Lately I have had the strangest feeling. It comes eventually. And I remember looking at Brent and he was just crying, sobbing. And I was like, okay, thank God you're crying because I'm going to start sobbing. But then even more surreal with that is we started panning around who the people were in the room, in the VIP room. There was this slight little fella standing next to me called Prince.
No.
Yeah. And next to him was Beyoncé, and next to him was Leonardo DiCaprio when he was still dating Giselle in those days, and then Christina Aguilera, and we were like, what? Where are we standing right now? While Stevie Wonder makes us forget our words and make us cry. So that was quite a surreal moment.
That's a crazy night out.
Yeah.
That's a crazy night out.
Yeah, incredible.
But you've had many crazy nights out. You've also had many crazy ideas. And you are not just Ard Matthews, the musician, the performer, the entertainer. There is also, I think now on hiatus, the spell of Ard Matthews, the seafaring captain on the least likely seagoing vessel ever, which you dragged me out on a few years ago. It was a boat that appeared to have been made by a group of grade 4s as a school woodwork project. You could see nails sticking out and bits of glue.
I would ask for a bit more respect for the South African Navy, please, if you would please, Dan Nicholl.
So this was a vintage, it was a lovely, charming piece of seafaring equipment that really didn't look like it was going to get much beyond the harbour. And yet you set off on probably one of the more ill-fated voyages that has seen Cape Town bid farewell to, as you set off to St. Helena with, is it fair to say, not quite the ideal crew?
That would be a fair statement. We set off to Rio. So it was the Cape to Rio race that
you just took a wrong turn out of Cape.
We just took a pit stop. It's like, you know, when you pull into the engine on the, to the Wimpy on a long
Orange Street, 3 a.m., 2 rotisserie chickens and a litre of Coke, please.
Exactly.
We've all been there.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the equivalent of an Atlantic crossing. We got really beaten up at sea, and I did need to have a crack squad of crew. And I can't blame the crew because I was captain. I selected them. We all did our best under the circumstance, but looking back, that could have probably been a little bit more fine-tuned. I obviously had put people with way more experience in place than me on purpose, because just because I was the captain, I didn't assume that I know everything, or especially how to. I've never been very handy with repairing things. I can change a tire and stuff like that, but when rigging starts going awry, fortunately, I had my cousin, Michael Hayward, who's just an incredible sailor and blacksmith and all. So I had the right people in place. But the thing with things like that is that everyone needs to be in it entirely. And it quite quickly was revealed that there were a couple of cracks in that armor soon when the storms got bad and when things looked like they were falling apart, which they did. It was almost a little mini mutiny on my hands, and so I decided to drop them all off conveniently at not Rio, at St. Helena, and ask them to politely make their own way home. And 3 of us continued the rest of the journey all the way to the Caribbean.
Now, I was in St. Helena last year. The guys at Airlink took me over, and I highly recommend the flight over the boat trip. It is a lot quicker, and the food's a lot better.
They built the landing strip the wrong way as well, so you get a lot of crosswind.
It's a fun landing.
Yeah.
But you were remembered very, very fondly by many of the locals. And in fact, I spent some time on a boat with a guy who'd had a few beers with you, and remembered. I think he'd only discovered, like, after you'd left, that you were rock god royalty from South Africa. He thought you were just a very bad seaman who suddenly found himself on the islands.
Waterman, yeah.
But you left some good memories, and you also brought out some good memories, because I remember it didn't take long in our opening conversations where what I thought was you just having a bit of a joke was actually something we were really, really passionate about. And not everything went exactly as you'd planned, but it was clearly something that you wanted desperately to do. And despite it maybe going slightly different to what you'd envisaged, really, really good memories, and something I know you're very proud of doing.
I'm looking back, I don't regret a single thing. It made me 5 times the man that I ever could have wished. It made me proud of my leadership skills, because no one got hurt at all. No one so much as scraped a finger, and that's all because of me. I mean, I didn't sleep a single wink at all. I was so obsessive about everyone's safety, and I do take that, as an accolade and a feather in my cap that I managed to get that old vessel built by the SA Navy I managed to get her not only the distance of Rio, I actually doubled the distance and ended up getting all the way to the Caribbean, where she's now currently teaching students the way she was designed to. She was built as a student vessel. And
It's a really nice end to that story.
and that wasn't planned. I assure you that I got to the Caribbean. I was like, I just need to get home now. I need to carry on working because I don't have bottomless funds, being a South African musician and whatnot. So it was amazing that it got picked up by the Paperboat Yacht Academy, and we've put a lot of students into really good positions on boats after doing the course on the boat in the Caribbean.
I can see, almost slightly building on his Jack Sparrow experience, I can see Johnny Depp playing Ard Matthews in the movie of this maritime misadventure.
I think he's too fat now.
You are looking like Bob Geldof needs to have a concert in your support.
We are the world.
Oh dear. Right. If it sounds like there's been a slight jump there, that's because we've just had to edit out Art spending 4 minutes singing to his better half across the room. God, they're a lovesick pair.
That love. That was for you.
We've got to a stage now where you've done so much already in music, and it's a conversation I've had with a number of people on this show. Look at Mark Lottering, who was with us not that long ago, who is already, you'd think, kind of done everything he wants to do, everything he can do,
Yeah.
and yet still has so much on his horizon, so much he feels he still has to offer. And that's great because he, like yourself, is a remarkable talent. You have ticked so many boxes in the musical world, and other than skipping handheld through sepia toned sunsets every night for the foreseeable future,
Yeah.
musically, or perhaps even beyond musically, what is there still to do? What still gets you up in the morning thinking, I am really excited about this?
Well, back to my current situation of bliss and joy. I've just newly inspired. I'm already 6 songs into a new album, so that started only in January, and I'm just writing all the time. Also, just realizing that is actually what I do, and just taking or being grateful for that gift that I have, and to have the space and the support. It's been a really a one-man show for the longest that I can, and now that I have the support, it becomes a team effort, and there's different ways that we can approach it. As radio starts losing its impact a little bit, and social media is quite powerful, to be able to have a built-in team in this configuration is just amazing. But I think the main thing that I wish for is just to carry on living life in bliss, and there's really no expectation other than to produce and to do. So I just want to carry on doing and just being as chilled. I really am not chasing anything. I just want to create and just live as peacefully and chilled as I can.
If you talk to the young generation today and you use the word collaboration, it normally means you're involving somebody in your Instagram post.
Yeah.
But collaboration for you would mean bringing in other talent, other artists. And it's something I've always admired about you. You've always been very generous with your time, with your creativity. You've never been, I'm Ard Matthews and you're just starting, so I'm way too important to ever do anything with you. You've brought people into your circle, and you've been very generous that way. Not everybody is that. You've got a great collaboration now with, I forget her name because you haven't really mentioned it during the show, but along with Tanya, I saw something recently with Kurt Darren, and I love both of Kurt's songs. You've got a number of people you've already worked with over the years. Are there other dream collaborations? Are there other people you'd like to sit down with and say, hey, let's do something?
Yeah, so it's an open book. There's no one in particular that I'm targeting. I'm kind of again in a little bit of a selfish phase of just getting this album out. So it's kind of just me. I've got it all set up at the house. So I'm not actively seeking it out, but I'm always open to it. And when it gets revealed, will be the right time and the right artist. We're up in Zimbabwe now with Rob Burrell at Bridgeton Studios,
who was a high school classmate of mine.
I'm sorry for him,
Mr. Man Friday.
Yeah,
he was absolutely impossible. You can imagine him as a kid, zero ability to concentrate on school class, but loads of fun.
Yeah, he's always fun. So he's got a couple of artists on that side that he's busy developing and stuff, and a couple of them have corporate interests. So no one that I'm targeting as such, but always open. I enjoy working with people when I can. But as I say, I'm loving being in the zone right now. Like the other morning, I woke up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just wrote a new song, and that's currently where I'm at. And I'm fortunate that I didn't have to do school runs. or anything like that at the
They
moment.
are a delight.
Yeah, they are very special. So it's so nice to be in like a full creative phase and space, and to be able to do it while still earning a really good living and having the full support that I do.
I have to ask you before we wrap up, in a number of our conversations over the years, whether it's been when we were on TV, and of course you did the theme song for the Dan Nicholl Show, which was by some distance, along with the free Nando's for the audience, the highlight of the show over its 16 seasons. We've spoken about another woman in your life, and that is your quite remarkable mother. How is the dynamic between your mother and the blonde starlet who is gazing lovingly in your direction as we speak?
I think it's all to be as expected.
I'm glad to hear that. I lead into that by going back about a year or so ago, where I did something I'd never done before on a stage, where I got to marry two friends of mine. I went online, and through the Second Online Presbyterian Church of North Tennessee, became a minister.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to log in.
Yep, $2.95 on a credit card I'd bought at Park Station earlier that day. So I am qualified. So if there were to be the need for something similar, Ard Matthews, I am available. But what I'm also available for, I mentioned in jest our mutual friend Kurt Darren. He's a dear mate of mine and a regular golf partner. I appeared in the music video of Sturmtrein featuring Snotkop Henning, who's probably one of the world's foremost Afrikaans rappers in what is a packed field. So I am also available, Art and Tanya,
For collabs.
for a part in an upcoming music video.
Good to know.
Joey Rasdeen has got a movie coming out, and he has promised me the role of coma victim, which I think is probably the extent of my thespian range. But having played the conductor in Sturmtrein, and all 5 seconds of my performance were very, very authentic.
There was a lot of talk about it.
There was indeed. So just bear me in mind when you...
Tanya, note to yourself, eh? She's deleting your number right now.
The fact she had it's slightly disconcerting.
Yeah, exactly.
You're working on songs. Do we have a date on the horizon for a new album?
Yeah, I want to get it out before my 50th, which is end of March.
All right.
So I'm hoping to get it done by then, or thereabouts. That's soon. It'll be early this year, that's for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
I look forward to celebrating the 50th with you. In fact, I've got something rather special for you when we do get there.
Oh, awesome.
And it'll be great because we've celebrated your 50th for a number of years now.
You finally get it right.
But what I'm really loving is, as somebody who I started out just being a fan of, and you become a really dear friend and a great supporter over the years, and I'm very grateful for that. I say again what I said at the start of the show. I've genuinely never seen you happier, even when you've been with me, which previously was at your happiest. And I'm absolutely thrilled. And as much as I take the mickey a little, I have to say I think she's done remarkably well. So I'm really thrilled for the both of you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm stoked. It's also awesome to see our friendship grow through all the mickey taking, and it's always a pleasure. I do love the banter, and thanks for having me on the show. And you owe me money for the theme song. That will be in the mail.
All right.
But you have moved and you haven't invited me there, so it's gone to the previous address. So
expect my new Venezuelan cryptocurrency account to be in touch in due course.
President Trump meme.
Is the man who's opened for U2 and Def Leppard. He's hung out with Prince and Beyoncé in Los Angeles, and he is part of the canon of modern South African music. But right now, and most happily, he's just a love-struck man called Ard who's making beautiful music.
You're listening to The Dan Nicholl Show.